Now on KREM 2 News, in just a few days, President-elect Joe Biden will be inaugurated. And happening now, thousands of National Guard members are on standby to protect D.C. and state capitals.
Looking at some pretty uneventful weather across the inland northwest this week, but tracking the potential for much cooler than normal temperatures for a change for this upcoming weekend and beyond, which could put a little bit more snow into the mix.
And thousands are still without power for the fifth day after a devastating windstorm. We're seeing where the city is in cleanup efforts tonight. KREM 2 News starts now. Tonight, the National Guard is standing watch at our state capitol. In total, about 600 National Guard members will be on watch through Wednesday. The FBI warned all 50 states to be prepared for demonstrations as we get closer to the inauguration. Good evening. It's good to have you here with us tonight. I'm Tim Pham. Washington Governor Jay Inslee says he believes the security is working to deterring violent protests.
We've had good success when we responded to the violence at the Capitol. I'm very appreciative of the National Guard who left their families to come patrol in the rain, and the Washington State Patrol. And that deterrent value has been effective to prevent violence in our Capitol.
The Washington State Patrol says there are no specific threats against the Capitol at this moment, but that there is, quote, an abundance of uncertainty across the country. Well, one Seattle man is in custody this evening facing charges for making a fake bomb threat. Seattle Fire responded to a car fire near the FBI field office when the owner of the car made a shocking claim. He told authorities there was a bomb in his car. However, the bomb squad searched the man's vehicle with a robot and found nothing inside. Seattle Interim Police Chief Adrian Diaz says every threat must be taken seriously amid such high tensions.
I have never seen it in the 24 years that I've been in the job to see the level of tension that it is and the divide in our country.
Authorities say there's no indication the suspect is part of any larger group or effort to attack federal buildings. CBS reports 21,000 troops are authorized to be in the nation's capital as we approach the inauguration. Checkpoints in D.C. have been set up around the inauguration perimeter. The Capitol riot played a huge role in the size of that perimeter and also the amount of police and military forces that are in the district ahead of the inauguration. Washington, D.C.'s Metro Authority closed 13 stops, and Airbnb shared last week it was canceling some reservations in the Capitol. Both moves were meant to limit people coming from out of town to D.C. for the inauguration amid fears of further violence. Regardless, President-elect Joe Biden was asked if he feels safe going into this week. His answer was short and simple. Well, there are already so many things that will set this inauguration apart from any other, but one of the most stark differences will be the absence of current President Donald Trump at the ceremony. CBS News spoke with a man who has been photographing inaugurations for the last 50 years. He weighs in on what the ceremony means for the country.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations, Mr. President.
Inaugurations are among the richest part of our history, a symbol to the world of our stability and our ability to move forward without moving against one another.
Ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country.
Pulitzer Prize-winning photographer David Hume Kennerly has photographed 5 inaugurations and now lectures on their history.
The first inauguration picture was in 1857. It was kind of a wide shot of the front of the Capitol, but it's a remarkable image.
That is President James Buchanan, sworn in on the east front of the Capitol. Abraham Lincoln in 1865, 6 weeks before he was assassinated. Kennerly was President Gerald Ford's photographer and captured the non-ceremonial transfer of power from Richard Nixon, the only U.S. president to resign.
He gives a little wave. It was one of the most dramatic things I've ever witnessed.
Traditionally, the incoming and outgoing president share a ride to the Capitol. Kennerly was among the very first photographers to put his camera inside the presidential limousine. Ford and Jimmy Carter, Carter and his successor, Ronald Reagan.
In the eyes of many in the world, this every 4-year ceremony we accept as normal is nothing less than a miracle.
Kennerly has captured that miracle for millions.
One of the reasons I like doing what I do is being there, a front row seat to history.
For the first time in 152 years, there won't be an image of the incoming and departing presidents together to witness what we again realize must never be taken for granted. Power peacefully transferred.
The fact of the matter is that democracy works. A new president's going to be sworn in.
Well, to weather now, parts of the inland Northwest are still recovering from last week's devastating windstorm. Meteorologist Michelle Boss joining us now from home. And Michelle, I hear we may have some more quiet weather in the week ahead, and that, of course, definitely some welcome news.
Yeah, no big storms in the forecast. We had a weak storm system move through overnight, had just a little bit of precipitation. Most folks saw less than 1/10 of an inch in the Spokane area, only 300ths of an inch. Coeur d'Alene must have gotten a little bit of a burst there, just under 2/10 of an inch, and most of this was rainfall or rain mixed with snow. Bonners Ferry likely more on the snow side, but most of that melted during the day, about 700ths of an inch up there in North Idaho. Taking a look at conditions out there right now on satellite and radar, though, things are pretty quiet. Actually saw some clearing out in central and northeastern Washington, so a little sunshine for folks in places like Moses Lake, but unfortunately Spokane and areas southward pretty much socked into the low clouds and fog for most of the day today. Currently sitting at 34 degrees in Spokane and Coeur d'Alene, 40 in Moses Lake and Othello, so temperatures not too bad there. 43 in Lewiston, 34 in Pullman. Here's a look at the next 12 hours. Pretty quiet this evening and overnight. We could see the redevelopment of some fog, and temperatures expected to dip below freezing for tomorrow morning, so just be prepared for some colder temperatures. 36 for the high tomorrow with partly cloudy skies. Partly sunny to mostly cloudy on Tuesday and Wednesday. Should be dry, highs in the middle 30s.
Well, thousands of households in the Spokane area are still without power for the 5th day. There are more than 7,200 Avista customers who are still without power in the Spokane area. Across the state line, there are about 81 Kootenai Electric customers waiting for their power to be restored. And there are only about 9 Inland Power customers who are waiting for their power to be turned back on. Well, tomorrow is Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day. Typically, local activists hold a march through downtown Spokane to honor the civil rights leader. But as KREM 2's Morgan Trout tells us, this year will look different.
Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. is one of the most influential voices in the American civil rights movement, with marches taking place all across the United States to honor his life and legacy.
It's kind of troubling to not be able to go out there and do what we've been used to doing.
The annual MLK Day Unite Rally and Resource Fair have been canceled this year due to the pandemic. Activist Curtis Robinson says there is no right answer of how we move forward without the march and what this means to the BIPOC community.
How do we become more driven instead of more discouraged by something that's been historically occurring anyway? So why would we let that derail us now?
The pandemic has altered the ways we celebrate, but Spokane's MLK Family Outreach Center and the NAACP have created events for people to attend virtually. Starting January 13th, Spokane City Council sponsored a panel discussion regarding MLK's impact then and now.
If we are to be together, then we have to work together. We know working against each other gets us nowhere. History has proven that to us already.
Spokane Councilwoman Betsy Wilkerson draws a parallel between 1963, when she was 7 years old, and now. She says racism happens everywhere, and we need to not only work together, but we need to be actively anti-racist. For individuals to help make a difference, food drives and fundraisers were held by the MLK Center, but they are also encouraging people to participate in a 5K virtual race.
We've all got a lot of work to do, and I believe that our human family is at the point where we can no longer ignore the urgent need for that.
He says standing with Black leaders and listening to their voices is the first step allies can take to help against racial injustice. Reporting in Spokane, Morgan Trout, KREM 2 News.
All right, Morgan, thanks so much. We're just getting started here on the news at 5. A false text message chain has been sent around. It claims President Trump will institute 30 days of martial law before President-elect Biden's inauguration. But is this legit? Our team verifies next.